Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Welcome to my art channel. Thank you so much for being here. It is Thursday. I hope you are all doing wonderful. Today it's kind of cloudy, it's kind of gloomy. I much prefer bright and sunny days. I'm sure you guys all do. Good thing is no snow, so hopefully spring's around the corner. A little skeptical, but we shall see. I hope you guys are all hanging in there. Hope you are doing art with me. I love the pictures that you guys are sending me. It's so great to see all your creations inspired by what I've shown you in these shows. Thank you again. I love seeing them. They definitely warm my heart. So thank you so much for sending them my way. So again, today I'm going to do a little spiel before we get started. So it gives you time to get the materials we need today. So like I said, we need watercolor. So actually at the dollar store, because my art store is closed now, the dollar store, they didn't have the watercolor palettes, the little pots. So I found this little tray of watercolor. So they're kind of like a thin acrylic, I would call them. So not a traditional watercolor, but like a thinner acrylic. And I'm going to show you. So I'm going to use these. So I'm going to hold them up to you. So you see they're like a thinner acrylic, and I'll show you how to use those. And I would say a little glass of water, a little paintbrush, paper towel. And I'm going to use today, you can use paper, but I'm going to use today this canvas panel here. Okay, my favorite. So run along, go get those things, and then I will talk to you in 2 minutes when we get started. But first, run along, I'm going to show you a couple things. So I collected a few things to show for you today. I thought you'd get a kick out of this. So this is funny. This little dealie here. I'm not a sculptor, but I love all things art. And this is a little creature I made. So I'm going to show you in the camera here. Can you see this guy? So I made him like 20 some years ago. Oh gosh, probably even more than that. Oh God, I'm old. 30 years ago. I made him in junior high because I've been an artist all my life. I love to do art so much. I made this little guy out of clay. So he's hard as a rock, fired clay, and then I painted him with acrylic. And then I sprayed him with an acrylic spray. So you can see I got his teeth right in there. I love seeing the old stuff I used to make because it reminds me of how passionate I've always been my whole life with art. And so, you know, all forms of art, sculpture, painting, anything, I love it all. So I hope you enjoyed seeing him. A little Lorraine in junior high made that. So pretty cool. So another thing I wanted to show you while we're getting ready is I have been an artist again for a while. And I have this ratty old photo album. You see it's a little dog-eared, seen better days. I'm actually in the process of putting this in a digital book format and then printing it out as an album. So that's been a bit of work, but it's going to be great at the end. So in this book, I have all sorts of paintings that I have done. So I'll show you a really good one here. My poppies. And then this one is what the heck are these called? Oh, those pokey things. My mind just went blank. Thistles, that's it. My brain finally kicked in. So those are thistles. But what this is an album of all the paintings that I've done through the years in my art career that I have sold. It's like a little memory walk for me. So these are all things. So sometimes when I'll do, actually a lot of time is when someone will say, "Hey Lorraine, I love your work," and I'm always like, "Oh, awesome." That always warms my heart. They'll say, "I would love a commission. We love such and such work. Could we have a coffee and discuss?" So then I'd say, "For sure." And I'd bring this album and they'd see kind of the depth of my work, and they'd see what they like. And they'd say, "Oh, I love that fern piece. Could you do something like that?" So then I'd take that picture and then create something, of course, one of a kind, but at least this gives them a way to see what I've done before. So I'll show you one more Let's see here. One of my faves. Doo, 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 doo. Oh, this one's one of my faves here. So you know me and birds, right? Well, here's the... So this piece, I know it's a tiny little picture right now, but this piece was actually, I think about 4 feet wide. So you can imagine 4 feet wide crow raven painting. I love it. With the moon. It's very magical. Actually, I'm finishing a commission right now that's crow related. So when that's, well, it's almost done. I'm just putting a few more touches on it. And then I'm not gonna show you because the buyer hasn't seen it yet, so I gotta keep it secret. But once we do, I will show you it, and it's gonna be awesome. Okay, so welcome back. Did y'all grab your material? All right, let's get started. So as you know from other videos, you have seen I love to recycle, so I always wash my meat trays. These make excellent little palettes. So that way you're reducing and reusing, correct? And you can actually use this a ton of times, especially for this, because this paint will be thin and then you could just wash it right off and use it again. So what I've done here is I've selected my primary colors. Okay, so that's red, blue, yellow. And then I always add brown, because people say, well, that's not a primary color. We don't have time to be mixing up brown with this. This takes too long. So I just bloop, I put some brown on there. And what I like to do with primary color is show you how the colors react with each other. So anyone who's taken a class from me or anyone who's been to my classes knows I paint strictly with primary colors, because then it really gives you a language, makes you learn the language of paint and how it reacts with each other. Now, I left white out because we're going to use this as a watercolor. And ideally, watercolor, the white is your paper. Okay, so remember that. So our white's going to act as our paper, our background is going to act as our white, and then the rest we're just going to add. So today, I thought we would, and you can run along and go grab a pencil really quickly. I didn't tell you to do that. But what I'm going to do is, because we're using watercolor, I would say sketch it out first. So I'm going to think about, I was going to do a pen. Now I'm deciding what to do. Okay, I'm going to do an eye, because I love eyes, as you know. So I'm going to draw a big old eye here. So again, my big old eye. What I like about eyes is you can make them look really dramatic. So keep in mind, we want to keep our pencil really light. So just lightly sketch out your eye. The reason why, or whatever subject matter you're doing, again, you can watch this video and then come in after with a different idea if you like. The reason why I say draw lightly is because we're working in a watercolor. We want the paint's going to be very translucent. So we're going to see that pencil come right through. So draw very lightly, okay, guys? So I'm just lightly tracing out my eye. You can see. There we go. And this eye is like getting a weird shape here, right before your eyes. So I'm gonna fix that. Oh my goodness. Really, I can draw? Just maybe not today. Today's Thursday. I'm kind of nervous. Do you guys want to know why? I'm donating blood today. I haven't for a few years now, and I thought, okay, it's one thing I can help the world today is I'm going to donate blood again. So we checked, and it was like 3 years ago the last time I donated blood, and I get really nervous because I am afraid of needles. The sight of blood makes me want to faint. So should be interesting. So it's good we're doing this video now, not later, because I might be laying on a couch somewhere. No, I'll be okay. I just, for some reason, I get really afraid of blood. Blood makes me faint. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. Not paint, though. Paint doesn't make me faint. All right. So here's my eye. I just kind of corrected that bottom there. So I'm using my little end of my pencil, which I hate using, but I don't want to bore you guys while I get my good eraser. There we go. You get the idea. Here's my eye. I'm going to draw a little pupil-y dealy in the back there with my highlight. So there you go. There's my eyeball. So what I'm going to do is mix up, I'm going to use the watercolor. It's kind of like a a barometer of shadow. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to mix an overall brown. So I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to mix a really light brown. So again, this is acrylic paint that I'm going to water down as a watercolor. So you can see I'm adding quite a bit of water to that. Try not to mix it. But what I'm doing right now is I'm mixing a brown and blue mixture. And we're going to do an overall wash. So I'll show you what that means. Just let me mix my color. It's very boring watching me. You can watch me mix color on a loo. We need some songs again. Mixing a wash. Do 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 do. Mixing a wash. So what I'm doing is I mixed my color and then I'm adding a whole schwack load of water. Okay. So I would say I'm going to test this on my paper towel here, and I'm going to show you. So I would say probably the strength of this guy. So you can really see, and that's a good idea, is when you want to test your color, instead of going right into your piece there, test it on some paper towel, and then you'll know what you're getting. All right. So here we go. I like that color. I'm going to go in and do some shadow. Now I'm working really big for this paintbrush. If you were doing this, I would say get a bigger brush, because this is kind of not the best brush for this size of piece I'm doing, but I'm going to make it work. So I'm adding a lot of shadow right here, and then I'm going with my water, and I'm going to just kind of bleed that out. So washing is what we're doing, is we're just adding some shadow to our piece, okay? Now, if there's something that you did, so I'll just make a mistake here. If you went, oh, I didn't want that there, you can actually take your paper towel and wipe that away, blot it. Kind of like you had a stain in your carpet, you blot. And then if still it doesn't come out, you can add a bit of water, kind of loosen it up a bit, blot that away, and then go back in. So here we go. So what I'm doing is just doing the little, I guess the shadows, the variations of tone, just making my eye start to pop out. So you can see how I left the center, because that's where we're going to focus on our highlight in the middle there. And I'm just going to carry that shadow. So I'm lightening it up. I added some water to my paper here. I'm just going to kind of do an overall water wash. So I dip my brush in the water, and then I'm just going to wash all over my whole eye. And then we're going to let that dry a minute. Doesn't have to be totally dry, just right now it's super wet. So okay, let that dry for a sec. And then I'm going to go again to my color that we mixed. And I'm going to do some little dark details here. So using my brush, now this is where having this size of brush was good, because now I can go in and do some detail. So I'd say if you had two brush shapes, a bigger one for the overall wash, you'll have a lot more control, because I was really pushing this little brush here. So I'm just going in, so whenever I go like this, I'm getting more color, and I'm just adding into that darkness I want to layer. What I always say is it's easier to go a little bit at a time if you're unsure. Little bits at a time, and just layer, layer, layer. And let's say you did one layer of this color that we mixed. You go back in again and go over, you'll have a darker color. It's easier to layer than to try to take away, because you cannot take away from watercolor. Watercolor is actually the hardest thing to learn on, because once it's down, it ain't going nowhere. Once it's down, it is down. Whereas if you know, something I do like an acrylic, you can paint over it. So you see how I'm adding, this is all the same color. This is all the same color we mixed, but as I'm adding layers, there are different depths of darkness that are happening. You see that? So I'm keeping in mind where my light's coming from. So I'm going to put my light up here. It's kind of like right here. If I was the, hello, I'm the light right here. And I'm just building up. And then what I want to do is make a wee bit darker. So what I'll show you what I'll do. So I'm going to put this puppy down. So here's all that color I mixed before. I'm going to add a bit more blue, tiny bit. You see how small the amount of paints I'm working with? Because we are using it as a watercolor. So I added a bit more brown, a bit more blue. I would say a bit more tighter concentrate of paint. So what that means is the ratio of paint to water. This is a bit thicker watercolor, but not right out. We're still adding water as a vehicle to carry that paint across. So I'm going to go back in. It's a bit more blue, a bit more darker. We'll see what happens here. Now you can test on your napkin, but I'm just going to go to town. So you see how that's a bit more darker? So there we go. A bit more darker. I'm going to go back into my above my eye here. Add a bit more line. Down here, a bit more line. And then what I'm going to do as well is go around my iris and create that little line. Because if you look closely at our eyes, some of us have a little line around our iris. So create that little line just for interest. And again, you notice how I'm using the paper as my white. I'm going to have a bit of because I'm working at an angle. Things are dripping. There we go. Now, just for fun, now I'm going to mix a blue color for my iris. Okay, so I'm going to take my blue here, and I'm going to mix a little blue here. Now, I don't want to use this directly out of the tube. Maybe I'll add a wee bit of brown, and then I'm going to add just a bit of blue, or sorry, a bit of water for a vehicle. Now, I did test that on my napkin here, and I do like it, but it's a bit too watered down. So I'm just going to counteract that, add a bit more blue, a bit more brown, test it again. Oh yeah, I like that one better, the top one. So I'm going to go in, grab some of that, and then apply it to my eye. So keep in mind where our light source is. So it's going to be naturally darker up here. So we're going to do full strength here. And because I waited for that other stuff to dry, the brown, it's not mixing in together, thankfully, because you can get a real mess going. So then I added some water here as a vehicle to bring that blue down. So we're keeping it 100% up here, and then I'm going to go in 100% down here. There we go. Bing, bang, bong. 100% down here. And then using that water, because we are watercoloring, using that water to stretch it around. So when it dries, you see how you have this natural dark at the top, dark at the bottom, and then kind of that light hitting the eye? Because if you look at our eye, there's our lid of our eye, our eyelid, creates a shadow, and then the pop of color, the pop of brightness, where that light is hitting, right here, that's where the kind of makes your eye come alive. And you see how I left this little highlight here? That makes, if you look at my eye, I have little dots. That's what really makes an eye come alive. So what I'm going to do is go back into that blue again. I'm going to accentuate that top of your eye, top of my iris here. So you can see that's starting to look actually quite three-dimensional, which is awesome. And then I even will go in, take a bit of brown again, bit of blue, mix that together, and just go in and define that pupil. Now make sure you let things dry, because if I went in, so it's quite wet up here, if I went in with this dark color and went near, it'd start to bleed in and then you'd cry. So let things dry. And I'm applying this dark here, and I find it's kind of needs a bit of flow. So I added just a drop of water in here. And just play around, like you just gotta get a feel for the paint. Just practice. And then I'm going to use that darker one again and add a bit of detail up here with the dark. And as you can see, I'm slowly adding layers. So I'm going to step back here. Slowly, layer upon layer of color, we are building up a painting. What do you think, guys? And then after this is all dry, you could even go in a bit more with some dark and do like even more of a dramatic shadow. You know what I mean? Like, just go with it. Just freestyle. Let's do it. Totally. Just have some fun. I want to show you little tricks and tips, and then you can take them from me and you can make your very own creation. So even though you don't have to do an eye, but I did. You can apply this technique to many other things, whether it's a leaf or something, but I thought I'd keep it simple. I hope you had fun with this. Ta-da! I know I had fun with doing this with you today. So that's about it for today for our project again. And just to show you how little paint I used, see my tray? Look at how little paint I used for this painting. So when you're doling out your paint, you don't need a whole lot. So no waste, no want. There we go. One thing I wanted to share with you today before you go is a little sketchbook. Now this is some of the, so again, these are my sketchbooks. I dug this one out because I thought it was pretty awesome. It had some before and after. So here's a sketch I did. And then here's the painting. So you can see I work out a lot of things on the actual sketch before I go to the painting. Another thing I wanted to share with you was this little guy. Sometimes I do like really fun superhero drawings. You can see him. So that's some of my illustration work right there. Pretty fun. So all sorts of fun things you can do. Now for tomorrow, I have a list all ready to go. Here we go. So tomorrow, Friday already, what happened to the week? We're going to need tissue paper, canvas panel, so the same thing we worked on today, and these are like $1. These are found everywhere. Canvas panel, water, and a paintbrush. So I would say a bigger brush than today. This guy I knew I wanted to do, so maybe something about maybe an inch wide. A nice inch wide paintbrush, because we're going to get kind of loose tomorrow. So when I say tissue paper, I don't mean the TP everyone's buying. I mean like these kind of dealies. So I'm going to work with these 4 colors. You can buy these as well, or basically any colors you have. I would just try to say maybe 3 or more colors of tissue paper. Now we're only going to need like 1 sheet of these. I have way too much. I wish it came in single sheets, but this is how it came. I'll just have to save them for birthdays or something like that. But basically different colors. So because we're going to create some fun, and we're going to need color. So again, tissue paper, canvas panel, water, and a paintbrush. Yay! Okay guys, so thank you so much for joining me today. I had loads of fun. Please send me your art that you do with me. I love seeing them. And just have fun and sit and listen to some great music and do art. Okay, so thanks very much for joining me. We'll see you soon. Bye!